You know that moment? That tiny, almost imperceptible fraction of time? It happens in virtually every high-pressure situation you'll ever face. And honestly, it reveals more about you than anything you could ever say out loud. Think about the last time a disagreement suddenly flared up out of nowhere. It happened so fast.
Maybe a casual comment lands just wrong. The tone shifts, it gets slightly disrespectful. Or suddenly, a decision you made is being openly questioned in front of your peers. In that exact split-second instant, something deeply primitive and incredibly subtle gets triggered inside the human mind. The situation stops being a simple conversation. It becomes a threat.
You feel it physically, right? Long before you even form a conscious thought. It's a sudden, rushing rise in emotion, a literal tightening in your chest. You get this visceral, burning urge to respond immediately, to correct the record, to defend yourself, to assert your dominance in the room. Most of us never consciously notice this physical sensation happening. Our amygdala processes the threat in a fraction of a millisecond, way before the prefrontal cortex can even register a single word of what was said. People just let the words spill out faster than they ever intended. Their voice gets sharp, they lean in, and the entire energy of the room just instantly escalates. But what if you didn't?
The architecture of calm and why powerful people stay emotionally still. In this explainer, we're diving deep into the hidden psychological architecture of human power dynamics. We're going to look closely at that exact high-stress scenario we just described, and we're going to study the one person in the room who does something incredibly unsettling and remarkably powerful. The person who stays completely still.
Section 1. The illusion of control and when biology takes the wheel.
To really grasp what's happening here, we have to look at a deeply ingrained illusion about human behavior. You see, when we react emotionally, it feels like we're taking charge. We feel powerful, we feel justified. But the crazy paradox here is that this is actually the exact moment we lose our autonomy. It's an automatic biological chain. A social threat is detected, like disrespect or uncertainty. Your brain interprets that as a literal physical survival threat. This sparks a biological trigger. Emotion spikes instantly, and without any regulation, it slams right into immediate expression. At that point, you aren't in charge anymore. Biology literally takes the wheel.
There is a fascinating observation from the source material that perfectly captures the state. The situation is no longer being observed, it is being entered. The reactive person becomes entirely trapped inside that emotional moment. Their focus narrows completely to the immediate threat. They're no longer analyzing the room or the dynamic, they are fighting for survival inside their own head.
Section 2. The pivot and the profound power of doing less.
So what happens when someone actually interrupts that automated chain? Because in that exact same high-pressure scenario, there is usually one person who does something radically different. They don't rush, they don't interrupt, they don't get defensive, they simply pause. And strangely enough, that silence changes the entire atmosphere. Not because they're doing more, but because they are deliberately doing less. This is the core of emotional regulation. It's a controlled distance between feeling and expression, delaying any action until clarity returns. Now, it's absolutely crucial to understand that this is not about suppressing your emotions. Highly influential people still feel the exact same disrespect, the same pressure, the same internal conflict. But they've introduced a trained distance that protects their decision-making from being distorted by the heat of the moment.
The contrast between these two states is really something. Internally, the reactive person feels 100% justified in their anger. But externally, they're exposing a deep internal sensitivity. They are showing everyone in the room exactly where their buttons are and exactly where the pressure hurts. But the calm person, they still feel that exact same internal pressure. Yet by delaying their expression, they project massive, unshakable external stability. And in that space, in that deliberate, sometimes agonizing distance between feeling the emotion and actually expressing it, something incredibly rare in human behavior is born: choice. Most emotional reactions are just triggered reflexes, but calmness is chosen.
Section 3. The architecture of social power and how stability manipulates perception.
So how does this internal, hidden choice actually affect everyone else in the room? Well, it all comes down to how human beings are wired. We unconsciously read these emotional states as absolute, definitive signals of power and hierarchy. When you go for the instant reaction, the social signal you are broadcasting is vulnerability. You're showing that the situation has rattled you. And the inevitable result of that is escalation. But a deliberate pause, that broadcasts uncertainty to the group. They literally do not know what you are thinking. And the result of that is observation. You carve out this psychological space that forces everyone else to unconsciously adjust their behavior to you.
The material states this perfectly. In many human interactions, the person who stays emotionally stable becomes the reference point for everyone else. This is precisely how stability manipulates perception. We aren't talking about overt, aggressive, chest-beating dominance here. It's about becoming the unmoving, steady center of gravity around which all the other chaotic social dynamics have to revolve. While everyone else is scrambling to control the moment, the calm person proves without saying a word that they are completely unaffected by it.
Section 4. The cognitive advantage, and seeing clearly through the noise. Now, this isn't just some clever trick of social perception. There is a deeply practical, biological reason why the calm person usually wins. By remaining outside the emotional moment, you fundamentally alter how your brain processes information. When someone reacts emotionally, their focus gets entirely tunnel-visioned inward, but a calm mind distributes its attention outward. Because you aren't captured by the immediate threat, your focus broadens. You start to observe the subtle tone of the speaker, the wider context of the meeting, their true underlying intent, the hidden power dynamics playing out across the table, the subtext of what is carefully not being said. You end up making better decisions simply because you are literally processing more data than the person who is blinding themselves with their own rage. And honestly, how long does it take to unlock this massive cognitive advantage? Usually, just 1 second. Now, I know in a tense boardroom or during a really heated argument, 1 second can feel like an excruciatingly long time. It can feel like an hour, but mental clarity almost never exists in that very first second of emotional activation. That first second is purely biology firing off. The clarity arrives just slightly after. It shows up when your mind stops being fully submerged inside the emotion and starts objectively observing it instead. In that tiny 1-second delay, the situation transforms from a dangerous threat into mere information.
Section 5. Becoming unconsumed and overriding biology with delayed reasoning.
So, with all of these benefits, why is this so incredibly difficult for us today? Well, look at our world. Our digital environments, our social media feeds, our hyper-fast workplaces, they all heavily reward reaction speed, immediate opinions, instant, snappy replies, real-time emotional exchanges, where taking a moment of silence is often incorrectly judged as weakness. We are actively trained to be automatic, but high-stakes influence requires us to manually override this fast biology. The cost of emotional reaction is usually paid later, but the impulse to react is felt now. This perfectly captures that highly dangerous gap between an immediate physical impulse and its long-term consequence. A reactive, angry tone changes how people perceive you permanently. A defensive, panicked response shifts authority entirely away from you. And this is exactly where true emotional discipline becomes your most valuable asset.
Ultimately, the most profound, subtle truth about emotional calmness is this. True power is not about feeling nothing. It's about refusing to let the pressure become your behavior. You are not unaffected by the chaos of the world. You are simply unconsumed by it.
So the next time the pressure rises and your chest starts to tighten, and everyone in the room fully expects you to explode, ask yourself, are you just reacting to the surface noise, or have you built the space to observe the structure beneath? Because in a modern world where almost every decision is made in a fog of emotional noise, the person who remains calm is often the only one who truly sees,